when, someone asks you about how to develop their culture, giving them that answer of you already have one, whether you like it or not, that's a great start. Welcome, everyone. This is the Fractional Executive Podcast. I am your host, Ryan Kauth, and with me today is Neil Katz. Now, this podcast is for owners of small businesses of $500,000 to $10 million in annual sales whose growth has plateaued. We want this to be an interactive podcast, so please drop your comments below, like, subscribe, follow, leave us a 5-star review, and that way we can get more guests on the show like Neil. That will then help grow the show and help you grow your businesses. So again, with me today is Neil Katz. He is the founder and CEO of Exceptional HR Solutions, where he provides human resources consulting and services for both business owners and transitioning executives. His career started in retail and advanced into healthcare and fuels delivery. He's a certified executive coach and mentor, a senior certified professional with SHRM, and a resilience building leadership professional trainer. He serves on the board of Hope International Adoption and is an advisor to Youth Rise Texas. Please welcome Neil Katz to the podcast. Hi, Neil.
Hello, Ryan. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you having me on your podcast. Look forward to chatting with you and learning more about this and interacting with the audience today.
Thanks so much. Why don't we jump right in, Neil? How do you apply, the lessons that you learned in retail and then healthcare to your work with business owners now at Exceptional HR Solutions?
Ryan, great question. I think for me, it's really about supporting the business owners today, and the experiences I've gained in retail and healthcare and some additional industries have really helped me lay the foundation for those owners. And that's really the opportunity to come in and support them, really teaching them where they are and where they're trying to get to. And as we know in retail and healthcare, the key is customer service. So how do we provide exceptional customer service to their clients, their businesses, their customers they serve? And how do we develop a really good, solid plan from where they are to where they're getting to? And the key for us has always been, what is the plan? And is that plan achievable and scalable over time? And how do we help them get there? And how do we develop milestones during that process in the plan to help them achieve success and growth? And it's really just taking care of them and being that reflective sounding board has always been very, very helpful. For my executive coaching background, I've really emphasized the ability to have that reflective mirror and somebody to provide insight that sometimes you don't always see. And that's a great skill I've been able to provide my business owners as we help scale and grow their businesses.
I really like what you said about having those milestones, but then having those measurable results that you can look at on your journey, to those milestones. Neil, you work with organizations on talent retention and acquisition. What are some of the creative ways you have seen in this area recently that small business owners can use?
Ryan, a lot of people are always trying to, how do you retain that talent? You invest so much of your time, energy, development in them, teaching them your systems, your processes, your programs. How do you retain them? And ironically, Ryan, there's really not a lot of creative out-of-the-box ways. What it really comes down to, a couple basic things. Schedule quality, uninterrupted, dedicated time with them. The reality of any individual employee or leader today is they want one-on-one quality time with their leader. Quality time that's uninterrupted, that's focused on their growth, their development, who they are, what's important to them, both professionally and personally. One of the evolutions we've seen over the last few years is really not just the employee, but the whole person. And when somebody has a challenge outside the workplace, how do you as a leader support them and understand them? But how do you also support them and celebrate them? When they have a wedding, a child, an event, a struggle, how do you support the whole person? And really that one-on-one quality time is critical. Personalized recognition is another thing. Giving somebody a gift card to Starbucks when they don't drink coffee doesn't do you really a good thing. But sending them their favorite flowers to their home or giving them a gift card to take their family out to dinner because that's what they love to do. The personalized recognition is tremendously of value. And then the last thing is developing a really honed in growth and development plan for that individual, not a promotion plan, but a plan to grow and develop them as leaders, as individuals, to allow them to explore different components of your business if that's what they want, but a personalized plan that really fits their needs and where they are and where they're trying to get to. Understanding that is critically important, and that will truly, exceptionally help you achieve that retention and engagement of your staff today.
Neil, I'm really glad that was your answer because I think sometimes we overthink things like that, right? When the answer really is we need to have dedicated calendared time individually for our employees and give them that time to actually know that we care about them, right?
Absolutely.
And I mean, really, that's why this show exists. So we can have experts like Neil on to remind us all that sometimes it's not rocket science. It's not that we have to be super creative about how to grow our business. And so, what I'd really like is for this podcast to be interactive. So please drop your comments below and please like, subscribe, and follow. Give us a 5-star review. And that way we grow the show, have more guests on here like Neil, and that will help you grow your business. Now, Neil, you also work with businesses on workplace culture optimization. I mean, what exactly is that? And how do you start building a better culture? And how do you protect that culture when you're that small business owner?
Sure, Ryan. And I think the key is cultural optimization. To answer your first part of the question is how do you take the culture you have and optimize it to get the greatest return for you and your employees? But the first step is to understand we all have culture in our companies today. I always am amazed when I have a leader or an owner or a business owner tell me, we're working to define our culture. I said, well, that's great, but your culture has already been defined for you. Your culture is existent after your first employee. So the key is how do you understand what your culture is? And that's a culture assessment and evaluation to understand where you are. And then optimizing is taking it from where you are to where you want to get it to. And the key really is building an effective culture of what's important to you as a leader. An example is when I started my business, my mind was really to be a solopreneur. And as I started growing and expanding, and I have 3 employees today that work with me, I realized I had to define what that culture was after I hired the first person. And one of the things that came out of my own individual culture, and I love sharing the story, is I've made the decision very consciously family first, work second. And that is a cultural definition of who I am as a company and who I believe in as a leader. And that's not always the status of you see many other organizations, but I'm defining my culture. And I will always tell everybody on my team, if you have a conflict, conflict's easy to solve. Family first, work second. Now, my companies I work with will go, well, what about us? I will have redundancy plans and other people to support them, but I always want to make sure my people are taking care of their family. And those are examples of how we understand what our culture is and how do we optimize it to bring in the talent that is resonating with that, that adds value to that, and hiring people that want that and looking for that. That from a retention and growth strategy is tremendous. But finding things that really make a difference and building, again, similar to what I talked about earlier, is building a plan. Where are you? Where do you want to go? And then listening to your team and understanding you as a leader. What are those core values of what's important to you?
Thank you so much, Neil. Great answer. And when someone asks you about how to develop their culture, giving them that answer of you already have one, whether you like it or not, that's a great start. And thanks for sharing your own experience as well, because I think sometimes as coaches and advisors, sometimes our clients don't realize that we've lived this, and it's also challenging for us as well.
Sure.
We started the podcast talking about the lessons in HR that you learned in retail and healthcare and some other industries. How did you go from being that functional executive in HR to more of a strategic and maybe even a visionary executive?
Ryan, great question. And, I think the first thing that helped me learn is learn the business, learn the business, learn the business. The number one thing from an HR perspective, really any discipline, is you need to understand the levers of the business. What is the business you're in? Not just what do we sell, what do we service, what do we provide, but how do we do it? How does it work? How does it function? What's the impact to it? What are the drivers? What are the levers of influence and growth and development? And what are the barriers and obstacles? And what are your competitors doing? And one of the things that has helped me grow tremendously in HR is the ability to understand the business, the levers of the business, but most importantly, is to speak the language of the business to the customers I serve. If I can speak the language of the business and learn the business about fuel or construction or nonprofits or any of the industries I support today, the greater the value I am because I'm speaking the language of that business owner. That has been critically important. And I think the last part of it is really helping them understand what their strategic business goals are, then we align to people goals. So an example is you'll have a company that says, I want to grow 50% year over year. That's great. And I'm like, well, what's your people goal? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, you can't grow 50%. You can grow your business, but you got to have the systems, people, and processes to support that. So what I do is I complement that side of it by providing them the roadmap on the people side to help them achieve their business goals. So it's really mirroring the two, both business and people together to achieve both of those successfully. And that's really what's helped me go from a functional leader to a strategic leader and a visionary leader, is to help them see what's ahead of them. And lastly, is for me, it's always, we can achieve anything if you have a good plan, you adjust your plan accordingly, and you drive and celebrate the successes and wins together individually and as a team as well.
Neil, in today's work environment with the trends of, working from home and a challenging hiring landscape, how can business owners become an employer of choice in their communities and in their industry?
Right. I think it's similar to what we've talked about already, which is understanding what it is your employee wants. The reality is we all hear, I want to work from home. I will tell you what we're starting to see, and we continue to have seen this, and we're seeing it more in 2023 and beyond, is people really don't want to work at home, generally speaking, full time. They want the flexibility. And I think the key is understanding what your teams want and providing them options and opportunities to meet their personal needs in alignment of the business needs. One of the things is to be an employer of choice. You don't always give them everything they always want, but you give them options and opportunities to align to their personal needs in alignment to the business needs. And then second is you offer programs and opportunities that meet the needs of employees, whether it be time off programs, whether it be retirement programs, whether it be educational opportunities, but understanding those opportunities of your talent and your workforce to give them and align those programs to them. The last thing I'll tell you is to be a great employer of choice. Benefits is a great component of it. What I always tell leaders is this: does your benefits program offer what your employees are looking for? Do they want medical, dental, vision? What about pet insurance? What about legal services? Are you offering some of those examples that your employees want? That's how you become an employer of choice, is having an option or opportunities to select the programs that make sense for your employees, listening to what they're asking for, and then determining how it fits within your budgetary constraints to offer some of those different options and programs that's been wildly successful and allow you to really become that employer of choice.
Neil, thanks so much for being on the podcast today. I want to give you some time to tell our listeners and viewers how they can get a hold of you, and then just talk about some of the projects that you're currently working on.
I would say two best ways to reach me is through my website, exceptionalhrsolutions.com, and then LinkedIn. I'm actively on LinkedIn every day, posting comments and content really to help business owners and leaders understand the landscape of people and where it's going and evolving to. And for me, some of the projects and programs I'm working on today is we provide fractional HR services to small to medium-sized companies that really need either HR infrastructure or let us become their HR team for them. And we're there to support across any industry, small to medium-scaled companies that are growing and expanding. We're there to support them in that journey. And we're open to all industries, and we're looking forward to working with them.
Neil, again, I really appreciated what you had to say today on the podcast. Lots of great nuggets that you can walk away from. And again, this is the Fractional Executive Podcast. I am your host, Ryan Kauth. Please like, subscribe, and follow, and leave us a 5-star review so that we can grow the show, have great guests on like Neil and our other guests can help you grow your businesses. You can get a hold of me at ryankauth.coach. The Fractional Executive Podcast is produced by Influencer.tv, the team of Adam Marino, Mark Livingston, Chris Dries, and Brian Allen.